None are as blind as the willfully blind. I'm speaking, of course, about President Obama and his ongoing cheerleading for Muslims. I recently discussed on this program that there would be a debate inside of the Muslim community as to whether or not the leaders of the Islamic State, ISIS as they're also known, were right according to Islamic law to burn the Jordanian pilot to death. And I quoted to you one of the hadith in which a Muslim said that Ali was right to kill certain people who had been Muslims and then retracted their Islam and said, no, I'm not a Muslim anymore. He said they were right to be killed because Muhammad told us if a man changes away from his Islam, kill him. But the man said that he should not have burned them because Muhammad taught us that you may not punish a man with the punishment that only God can give him, namely the fires of hell. Okay? I told you that there would be a debate. And as it turns out, there were some imams that were inside of the controlled area of the Islamic State who openly criticized the Islamic State leaders for burning the Jordanian pilot. I told you this was going to happen. And the debate would happen. I did not foresee any imams coming out publicly and preaching that it was wrong. And I guarantee you they used the same texts that I brought to you the other day. All right? And they were killed. The Islamic State killed them, executed them. Now, President Obama continues on this fanciful, historically inaccurate narrative. And certainly you heard the great hubbub that occurred after he spoke at the prayer breakfast in which he said many horrible deeds have been committed in the name of Christ. Think of the Inquisition, think of the Crusades, and the Jim Crow laws and racism and slavery in America. Now, again, think about Brian Williams, think about what you tell, think about what you leave out. Let's analyze, and I want to come at this from, again, another angle than most of the other TV shows and talk hosts are discussing it. Obviously, this isn't the Middle Ages, okay? Christians are not going around beheading people, burning people. There is no Inquisition, so President Obama would do well to never mind the 1500s or the 1600s. But beyond that, I'm going to go a step further. Pope John Paul II apologized publicly for things that were done in the name of Christianity and under the authority of the church, including things like happened in the Spanish Inquisition, where, if my memory is correct, under less than 300 people were killed. That's 300 too many, okay? But we're not talking about tens of thousands of people. He apologized. And the reason it's so critical that he apologized, and what I want you to take away from this is this. Those moments in Christian history where evils were committed in the name of Christ, they stick out and they're horrid to look at precisely because they're so unusual. They're warts. They're blemishes. They're big, ugly warts that no one can ignore. You have to say, yeah, they're there. But that's just the thing. It's a wart. It's something unusual. It's not a part of the fiber and the history of 20 centuries of Christianity. Jesus died to start Christianity. His apostles and early disciples died preaching the gospel. For 300 years, the church grew and grew and grew as martyrs. Christian martyrs died testifying of their faith and opposing the dictates, the ungodly dictates of Caesar. Okay? That's the history of Christianity. That's how Christianity ultimately conquered Roman paganism, through preaching and suffering and sacrifice. With Muhammad and early Islam, look at the first 300 years. Muhammad killed to start Islam. With his own hand, he killed people. Jesus died, Muhammad killed. Muhammad ordered the death of people who lapsed. His early apostles, his early caliphs, okay, they were involved in brutal murders to get people to follow Islam. And then when they swept throughout the Middle East, through North Africa, into Jerusalem itself, and they destroyed churches, and they forced people to convert or enslaved people like the Coptic Christians. That was a part of the very fiber of Islam in its beginning. All right? Look at the path of Christianity for 300 years, stained with the blood of Christian martyrs. Look at the path of Islam for the first 300 years, stained with the blood of the victims, the murdered, tortured, enslaved victims of Islam. That's the issue. So you want to talk about the Crusades, Mr. Obama? If you can't speak Arabic, thank the Crusades. If your church is still in existence in Europe, Italy, Austria, Germany, France, Spain, if your church still survives, thank the Crusades. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today.